Well, hello. Hi, Nikolaus Saahs. It's so nice to see you, even from afar, from a Zoom chat. Welcome to Austrian Wine Time, coming to you from La Bergerie and Autos in Fredericksburg, Texas. Welcome.
Thanks for having me. Hello.
Hello. First of all, I want to say how grateful we are for your time and for your willingness to connect with us across the seas during this very unusual time and help us, along with the Austrian Marketing Board and the Texas Food and Wine Alliance, bring some really fun content to our wine drinkers and our community here in Texas. We're coming from Fredericksburg, which I know you've been to Texas, but I don't recall if you've been to Fredericksburg. We are a town that was settled by in the 1800s we're celebrating our 175th anniversary this year, actually, settled by Germans and people from the Habsburg Empire. So we're a community that not only makes wine here in the Texas Hill Country, we're kind of along the corridor between San Antonio and Austin. And we're really excited to be able to do this event with you because we have so many lovers of Austrian wine already in our community, and we love to spread the message. So so thank you for joining us. I wanted to ask you a little bit, just in your own words, about the great history of Nikolaiof. I know in Weingebirge is one of the oldest vineyards for growing wine in all of Europe. And I know that your family has quite a history as well, going several generations back. And please, can you share with us a little bit about where you're making wine?
Yeah.
In the Wachau.
Yeah, no, the Wachau it's one of the very nice wine growing areas worldwide. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. So we have wine here since I think they found the oldest seeds here, wine seeds, about 4,000 years old ones. So quite a long time we have grapes here. And then a big time for winemaking here was during the Roman Empire. It was the northern border, the Limes, here at the Danube River. So we are located 70 kilometers west from Vienna, so quite close. And if you ever fly over Vienna to somewhere in Europe, you can just stop by at Nikolaiof quite easy. Yeah, it was a Roman army base here, Castel Fabianis, and we have Roman walls going up to the rooftop here in the area, in the house. So it's really quite interesting. We just got the information 2 weeks ago that the wood where they made the roof was cutted in the winter 1216, 1217. They made some quite interesting tests, and they know really exactly when the tree was cut, and they immediately built the press room in 1217 then. Yeah. The Roman Empire collapsed in the end of the 5th century. Then we don't know what's happened here until the year 777. They founded a monastery called Kremsmünster, about 200 kilometers away from here, and they got the property here as a present. But they gave it as a present to the monastery of St. Nikolai in Passau in Bavaria in 985. So since that year, since 985, the name Nikolai, Saint Nikolai at the beginning, is existing here for this property. So we are older than Austria. Österreich was first mentioned in 996, so 11 years after Nikolaiof was already founded. Yeah, it was also a bishop's place. Maybe you know the Ring of the Nibelungs, the very famous German and Austrian saga. And part of that played here at Nikolaiof. So Kriemhild, this main person, stopped in Mutaren and visited here Bishop Pilgrim, and he was bishop at this place here at the monastery. Yeah, then they used it as a church for a couple of 100 years. Then they built a lot of big monasteries around here, like Göttweck, like Dürnstein, like the St. Stephen's Cathedral in Vienna. It was also founded here from Nikolaiof. So the Nikolaiof was not big enough, not nice enough for the church anymore. So they used it just as a farming place until 1803. In that year, the government in Bavaria stole the monastery of Passau from the church. and so they had no use for the Nikolaiof anymore, so they sold it, and that was very good for us because my family, my great-grandfather had the chance to buy the property in 1894. So I am the fourth generation of wine grower now here at the property, which is not very old here for the area, because some wineries are really for centuries in the same family. But here is the most important thing is the history of the building, and I'm living here for just I don't know, 70, 80 years, 90 years hopefully, but then I'm gone, and so it's more important to have the building and all this history very well protected. And because I'm just a small part of the history here at Nikolaiof.
So Nikki, in terms of the style of viticulture that you practice, my understanding is that you're the first winery in Austria to really embrace biodynamic viticulture. Did that start with your parents?
Yes, actually, but we're the first in Austria and the second worldwide. It's Dom and Meyer from Elsass. They started in 69 and we started in 71. So it's really quite funny in a time where it was absolutely not popular to make biodynamic wine. So it was just, nobody knew about Rudolf Steiner, and so it was really very lucky. But for us, it was not really a conversion to organic farming. It was more a not conversion to the conventional farming in the 60s. Because my father got the winery when he was 18 years old, because my grandfather, his father, died after my father's one day after my father's 18th birthday. So he was 18 years old. He got this property here. Business was very, very bad in that time. The Russian army left the area just 6 years before. So some of the casks were still destroyed, also with bullet shots in there, and so because they drank, of course, the wine, and so business was really very, very bad in that time. So at the beginning, he couldn't afford the chemical treatments, and that's an interesting thing. I think it's very good to have no money at the right time.
We adapt.
No, he had just absolutely no money to buy these expensive chemical treatments. And then business was getting better and better. And then he said, why should I use this stuff? I don't need it. It works since generations without that. It's still very expensive, and I don't buy it, just as economical reasons in that time. And then in 1971, my mother came on the winery because she married my father. And there was already an anthroposophic doctor, Dr. Jutta Scheich, a good friend of the family. And she took this young girl, my mother was 19 in that time when she got married with my father, and brought her all the knowledge about Rudolf Steiner, so about the Moonkalender, about the preparates, about all these things. And she immediately started to make the preparates, to bring it out. So it was really quite, that was then the biodynamic spirit coming into property. Before, it was really just not using the chemical treatments because of, they're expensive.
But it evolved into something so much. And then when did you get your first Demeter certification?
In the middle of the 90s.
In the middle of
that was quite late in Austria, because it was a law in Austria that you have to have cows on the property. And we are here in the middle of a little town. We don't have a big agriculture, so we just have the vineyards, and so cows cannot fit really in our property here. So in our farm would be great, it would be perfect, but it's just at the moment not possible. So also in that time it was really quite difficult. And so that's why we got the certification when they changed the Demeter laws for getting the certification without animals on the property.
Can you speak a little bit about your philosophy of your winemaking that kind of carries over from the beginning of how you start, how the viticulture happens, and then the very kind of slow way, and I would say kind of non-interventionist way in which you make your wines?
So the vineyards is, of course, all the quality is coming from the vineyards, from the soil. So you can make mistakes in the cellar, you can make good job in the cellar, but you cannot make the wine better in the cellar. So it's really coming from the vineyards.
The source material,
And so it's very important for us to use a lot of green, no, what's the name? Green manure. Is it green manure? No, it's cover crops. That is the word.
Gotcha.
A lot of cover crops.
Green cover, yeah. Okay.
So between the wines, because they're just, you have the lines with all the wines, and in the middle you have a lot of space for other animals, as for other plants, and so we are planting a lot of different cover crops, about 20 to 30 different. It's changing every year a little bit. So for all the bees, for all the insects, to have a really good ecosystem in the vineyard. And when there's a good ecosystem, you don't have a lot of diseases. So it works much better. We have a total production from around about 100,000 bottles, so 80,000 liters from these 20 hectares, so around about 40 acres, 45 acres, something like that. So it's a very low yield, but we want to have a low yield so we get a better quality, and you have to find the level what is perfect for your winery. So I'm not buying grapes, not buying wine, so I have just my own land for making their own grapes. Yeah, so vineyard work is a lot. We're doing a lot of leaf management, soil management. We are not cutting the leaves with machines. So in the zone where you have the grapes, so we really pick the leaves with hand per hand out of the grape zone, that the air can go through, that when it's wet it's drying out faster, so we're not getting troubles with diseases in that area of the grapes. So we have about 7 employees during the growing season, so that's quite a lot for 20 hectares. So if you would work with more machines, so we would have 2 or 3 people maximum. So it's of course much more manpower in the vineyards. Yeah, harvest is very early at Nikolaiof. So we normally harvesting starting in the middle of September until middle of October, because we want to have very light wines. We want to have a fine filigree stylistic and not these very powerful, heavy smaragds and so. And that helps a lot that we're working biodynamic, because with the preparate 501, the quartz preparate, you spray this mountain crystal. It's like, we make a powder out of it, put it in the cow horn, putting on a sunny place, to collecting the sun, the energy of the sun. And that we are spraying out when the grapes are getting soft, so August. And that brings an impulse to the wine that they should start ripening now. So they stop growing the leaves and bring more the energy in the grapes. So we get about 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks earlier the physiological ripeness than our colleagues in the area.
Their counterparts.
Yeah.
Well, when I taste these wines, they are marked by this incredible energy, and they do dance on the palate, and they have such complexity. But they are so full of light, and they age beautifully. So we're actually going to be tasting 2 wines today. We're tasting a 2018 Nikolaiof Zwickl Grüner Veltliner. This is a wine that we're going to offer at at La Bergerie in our 6-pack that we're partnering with the Texas Food and Wine Alliance. A portion of the proceeds of the sale is going to go to a grant that will be a wine focused grant that will be awarded by the Alliance later this year. So this is going to come in the 6-pack from La Bergerie. And then we're also kind of going back, and we're going to taste some 2014 Steiner Hund Riesling, which I know is from a property that's kind of just outside, kind of closer to the village. Is that correct? Or am I getting that right?
Yeah, it's on the other side of the Danube. And this part of the area, so this vineyard belongs not to Wachau Valley. It's already Kremstal. It's 300 meters out of Wachau.
Okay, so it is Kremstal. Awesome. And then the 2014 Steiner Hund, in addition to some wonderful back vintages that we've been able to collect through some library offerings that you've given us, so thank you very much for that, of Weinenberg and Vinotech, are all available on our wine listed autos. And we're going to be featuring the 2014 Steiner Hund with a pairing for the month of April. So I think we should taste the Riesling first. Do you concur?
No, I think we should start with the Zwickl.
The Zwickl? Okay, great.
Because the Zwickl
I haven't opened this bottle yet because
actually, before you open the bottle,
yes.
it's very important for the Zwickl. Turn it around.
Okay,
Shake,
because
shake
it's
gently.
unfiltered.
It's unfiltered. So that's why, and of course, when it's in the fridge or so, the lees is everything is on the bottom. So you have to, not like a cocktail.
Not
it's
like
just
a,
more
not like a lasso. Okay.
2 times, and then you can open it.
Very good.
And actually, what is also very interesting when you pour the first sip or the first glass without shaking, then shake it, and then the second glass or 2 glasses next to each other with after shaking. So you really can feel the difference what the yeast is bringing into the wine. Because when you have it clear, when you don't shake it in one glass, and then the cloudy thing in the other glass, and then you can
It's almost like
compare
experiencing 2 different bottles.
Yeah,
it's so very different.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Cheers.
Cheers.
No, the idea of the Zwickl was to have a, so it's basically the same wine as the Hefe Abzug, which is also very popular in the US. With the green label.
Yes.
And it's basically the same wine. It's just one is filtered, the other is not, is unfiltered.
That would be another great kind of side-by-side tasting.
Yeah. So you would have the same wine in 3 different stages in 2 bottles. And the idea was to make a wine which is like the also after the fermentation, where the sedimentation is before the first filtration, the wine is cloudy, staubige, dusty. So we say staubiger in Austria, and it's translated dusty wine. And I like this stadium of the wine a lot. So that was the idea, to bring that cloudy wine into the bottle and have the yeast in the glass. So it's not an orange wine. It's not this natural wine without sulfur, and so there is a little bit sulfur in there, and yeah, so it's also no problem to have it a couple of days open in the fridge, and so it will not. It's no problem. It will not oxidize very very fast.
I love that it's quite refreshing, and then of course I feel like the yeast kind of brings all of this phenolic character to the wine, but but it adds something kind of texturally as well. It's got a fantastic kind of very spicy textural feel to it in the mouth. It's just beautiful. Yeah.
That's my favorite everyday drinking. I'm not drinking every day, of course not. But that's my everyday drinking wine. So when you sitting together with friends, not talking about wine, of course you can talk about the wine, but this is more a side thing for me. That's wine. It's really because it's drinking so nice and so refreshing, and yeah, that's sitting on the Danube River or on a boat or so and just drinking.
What are some of your favorite food applications for these wines? Like, what do you find yourself kind of going to again and again? Some classics, some things that show up on your table a lot. I know I love this with Asian food. It's one of my favorite wines to have sushi with at home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but that's all our wines. They're fitting fantastic with sushi because they're not so intense. They are so fine filigrane like the Japanese food. If it's too of course, if it's too hot, then you need something more sweeter and so too spicy. But for these fine filigrane food, actually Japan is a very very good market for us. So we are it's the US and Japan is our biggest market, because it's fitting so well with the Asian, with the Japanese.
It just sings there, because there is so much. There's fruit, and again there's that lightness, the way that it dances on the palate, but there's some savoriness as well that I think really plays in well to the concept of umami in those cuisines.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so all kind of starters which are not too spicy, and so fits quite well with that. Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. And then let's move on to the Steiner Hund 2014 Riesling. So again, this is going to be available at Autos through the month of April and beyond.
actually, if for me, so if you look in the lists where with all the rating from the vintages, 14 is rated as a horrible year.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, it was cold, wet, and so. But for me, these wines are always the best. It's like 2010 and 2014, because they have good acidity. They are so light. Also, this like every year 12.5 alcohol. So for me personally, I prefer cold vintages than warm vintages. And 14 was in the first 2-3 years you couldn't drink it because of the acidity, and so it was not balanced. But now, after 6-7 years now, the wines is getting so fantastic. So when I see somewhere on a list from a good producer here from the area, 2014 vintage, I always 2010 or 2014, because they are getting now so perfect for drinking. And yeah, so I'm really quite happy with that we're having this wine now here on the for the tasting.
I too am a lover of cool vintages that have really had enough time in the bottle to come around and really strut their stuff. And this is just, when you say that this wasn't allowed at vintage, it's just extraordinary. I feel as if I'm getting away with something by drinking it. And still just super racy, but incredibly complex and really beautiful aromas.
Now the Steiner Hund vintage vineyard is a vineyard set on the other side of the Danube. So it's a terrace vineyard. It's just 20 to 50 centimeters of soil, and then you have primary rock there. So the very small wines, very little berries, very concentrated. For Riesling, he must fight for food, fight for water there, but that's perfect for Riesling. Riesling must suffer a little bit.
It needs the struggle.
Yeah, and then it's getting fantastic. For Grüner Veltliner, it's not good that vineyard, so we don't have Grüner there, because it's such a perfect Riesling vineyard there.
Well, it's really special, and we're excited to share this bottle with our guests, certainly. Nikki, what do you think some of the biggest misconceptions about Austrian wine in general are?
Can you repeat the question? I didn't understand.
What do you think some of the biggest misconceptions, like people about Austrian things that people think are true but aren't necessarily true about Austria when you're working the market and you're speaking with people?
I think that's more. It's not just Austria. It's more the people think that Riesling is sweet. I think that's a very big. We're struggling with that a lot. Because that's coming originally from Germany, that they had in the 20-30 years ago, all the Rieslings were sweet, which was coming from Germany. Luckily, that changed a lot. Yeah, so that's more the big thing when people don't know Austria. They know Mozart, they know Schwarzenegger, but they don't know that. Skiing,
they know pastries.
And the skiing areas with very nice mountains, and so they don't know that there's Austrian wine is existing, and so. But that's of course getting better. Thank you also for you that you're bringing all that information to the consumers, to the clients, and that's really a lot hard work, a lot of work, of course.
It is and it isn't. I think, the hard work is in the conversation, because once you put the wine in the glass, it's undebatable. I mean, the flexibility of dry Riesling as a category in terms of certainly being used tableside is undebatable. I think it's just that kind of perception that takes a little kind of climbing over, but it's always a great joy to pour in the glass, certainly. Yeah. So you've been to Texas, and this is a question that I'm asking everyone. What's your favorite thing about Texas?
Actually, unfortunately, I've not really had the chance to enjoy Texas because with all these hard tours.
It's like a whirlwind tour. You guys you're up at 7 in the morning, and then you're going all day, and.
Yeah, then we're going to bed at 4 o'clock in the morning, and then at 5 o'clock in the morning. And yeah, so unfortunately, I had not the chance to see a lot from Texas. So that's definitely a thing what I definitely want to do soon. To see something not just from the cities, because big cities most all over the world the same, except that in Texas there's more. They're not so. Yeah, there's more space in the
More
cities.
space, yeah. Absolutely. Everything's bigger in Texas. That's what they say.
Yeah, but I definitely want to, come soon and see something.
And then I have one last very selfish question. Many people do not know that you guys have one of the most fantastic skincare lines available in all of Europe.
Yeah.
Products made from grapeseed extract. When can we see these in the American market?
Actually, it's available in the US market.
Okay.
We have a very good company here in Austria. They're called EcoVerde.
Yes.
And they are sending directly from Austria to the US. Shipping costs are minimal, so it's not a big thing. And it's after in just I think 3-4 days it's delivered. So it's really quite a good company, and they're doing it very well.
My understanding is that this is a true miracle product. I have heard so many people raving about it. So, so I'm so happy to hear that. I'll be placing a big order.
Yeah. That's good to hear. I will tell to my brother, because my brother is doing the cosmetics. He's the company, yeah.
Using all parts of the grape. I love it. I want to thank you so much for your time. Once again, it's so wonderful to get to share these wines with our guests and just kind of do a really brief recap. So the Grüner Zwickl is going to be available in the 6-pack, sold through Bergerie through the month of April, with some proceeds benefiting a wine focus grant for the Texas Food and Wine Alliance. We want to thank the Austrian Wine Marketing Board too for partnering with us to kind of get the message about these wines out. And then just one of the many Nikolaiof selections you can enjoy at our German restaurant Otto's here in Fredericksburg, Texas. The Nikolaiof Wachau Steiner Hund 2014 Riesling from one of Nikki's favorite vintages. Please come and drink these wines from our list, delve deep, explore some of these vintages, check out, and you have to drink the Weinberger, pardon me, it's very early in the morning here, wines as well, kind of flagship wines for Nikolaiof, and we continue to look forward to supporting you in the future. And when the world opens back up again, you have a big Texas welcome to come back and see us.
Yeah, hopefully we can.
We need to make a day. I'll talk to David. We need to make a day. You need some barbecue. We're going to take you to the rodeo.
Perfect.
Some breakfast tacos. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
Thank you so much one more time. We appreciate you.
Yeah.
Have a great evening.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.